Imagine for a moment that you're lying in bed. It's the middle of the night. The house is silent, and you're hungry. Not for a snack, not for leftovers in the fridge. You're hungry for the bed itself, the mattress beneath you, the foam inside your pillow, the wooden frame holding you off the floor. This isn't a nightmare. This is reality for some people. I'm Joker, and tonight we're going behind the mask. Jennifer had a secret she kept from her family for over a decade. Every night, while the world slept, she would dismantle her bed piece by piece, not out of insomnia, not out of boredom, out of craving. By the time her family found out, Jennifer had eaten through 8 entire mattresses, 8 beds, consumed from the inside out, while her loved ones slept just rooms away. Today, we're diving into the strange, shocking, and often misunderstood world of Pica, a condition that drives people to eat what you and I would never consider food. From toddlers eating their own homes to mothers hiding sponges in their handbags during childbirth. These are the people who were addicted to eating household objects. Before we meet these individuals, we need to understand what's actually happening in their brains and bodies. Pica. It's a word you might not know. It comes from the Latin name for the magpie, a bird famously known for eating almost anything it finds. And that's exactly what this condition is, a persistent craving for non-food items with absolutely zero nutritional value. But here's the thing, this isn't just a weird habit. It's a recognized mental disorder. Doctors diagnose Pica when someone eats non-food substances consistently for at least 1 month, and it affects more people than you'd think. Up to half of all toddlers between 18 and 36 months go through some form of Pica. They're exploring the world with their mouths, and sometimes that means tasting things they shouldn't. But it doesn't always stop when childhood ends. For pregnant women, the numbers are even higher. Some studies suggest that up to 68% of expectant mothers experience pica cravings, most commonly for ice, clay, or laundry starch. And then there are those with developmental conditions like autism or people with severe nutritional deficiencies. Their bodies are screaming for something: iron, zinc, calcium, and somehow that scream gets translated into a craving for sponge or soap or sand. Which brings us to our first story, a story happening right now in a small house in Wales where a toddler is quite literally eating his home from the inside out. His name is Junior. He's 21 months old, and he has no idea that the things he's eating could kill him. Junior lives in Wrexham with his mother Jess, and from the moment he could crawl, Jess noticed something different about her son. While other toddlers might put a toy in their mouth and then spit it out, Junior would actually swallow. It started small, bits of paper, crayons, the fuzz from his socks. Then it escalated. Jess sent Junior to nursery school, hoping he'd play with other children and learn social skills. Within days, she got a call. Junior had been spotted on the playground, scooping handfuls of sand into his mouth, not tasting it. Not experimenting, eating it like it was food. He was removed from the nursery. There was simply no way to keep him safe. At home, Jess tried everything. She baby-proofed the house, the way all parents do. But Junior wasn't interested in electrical sockets or cabinet doors. He was interested in the house itself. He ate his wooden cot, chewed through the bars, until Jess had no choice but to replace it with a metal bed frame. Then he found the door frame. One afternoon, Jess walked into Junior's room and found him sitting quietly, chewing contentedly on a chunk of wood he'd torn from the door frame. She rushed over and pried it from his mouth, and then she noticed the paint. Old paint, flaking paint, paint that had been on that door frame for decades. Tests confirmed her worst fear: lead poisoning. Junior's strange appetite had introduced a neurotoxin directly into his developing body. Jess told a reporter something that's haunted me since I read it.
Even if nothing is available to him, he'll seek it out. He will find something.
She said, even if nothing is available to him, he'll seek it out. He will find something. I joke and say, I need to live in an empty shipping container. But it's not a joke. Not really. The National Pica Advisory Service has documented cases where this condition turned fatal. 21-year-old James Frankish, 19-year-old Owen Garnett, young men with their whole lives ahead of them, whose cravings led to intestinal blockages that couldn't be fixed. Junior's mother knows these statistics. She lives with them every day. Today, she keeps Junior occupied with safe alternatives: licorice root to chew on, Weetabix for that dry, crumbly texture he craves. But she also knows that as he grows, his ability to find dangerous things will only increase. Our second story is about 10 years ago, a woman named Emma Snowden woke up with a toothache. It was agonizing, the kind of pain that makes it impossible to think about anything else. Emma, who was 26 at the time, rummaged through her kitchen looking for something, anything to soothe the throbbing in her jaw. She found a sponge, a brand new yellow kitchen sponge, still in its packaging. On impulse, she wet it, put it in her mouth, and bit down. The relief was instantaneous. The cool, soft texture against her swollen gum, the gentle resistance as her teeth sank in. For the first time in hours, the pain receded. What Emma didn't know, couldn't possibly have known, was that she had just lit a fuse that would burn for a decade. The tooth abscess healed, but the craving didn't. Emma, now 36 and living in Stockton-on-Tees in England, goes through about 14 sponges a week. Let me put that in perspective. 14 sponges every 7 days. She doesn't swallow them whole. She chews them until they disintegrate, then spits out the pieces. But the compulsion is absolute, and she's particular. Only sponges from Boots, Superdrug, or Tesco satisfy the craving. Other brands, wrong texture, wrong density, wrong everything. Here's where this story gets truly extraordinary. When Emma went into labor with her first child, she packed a hospital bag. The usual things: baby clothes, nappies, snacks for her partner. And then she added something else. 28 sponges. 28. One for every hour she expected to be in the hospital. The midwives noticed, of course. Emma told a reporter,
The midwives couldn't stop laughing. I told them I didn't want gas and air because all I was bothered about was chewing sponges.
The midwives couldn't stop laughing. I told them I didn't want gas and air because all I was bothered about was chewing sponges. Think about that for a moment. She was in active labor, experiencing one of the most intense physical experiences a human body can endure, and her primary concern was whether she'd have enough sponges. That's addiction. That's compulsion. That's pica. Like many people with this condition, Emma lives a double life. She tears sponges into small strips so they look like chewing gum. If friends notice, she just says she's got a gum habit. Her husband knows the truth. He's the one she sends to 24-hour garages in the middle of the night when a craving hits. She once tried to describe the feeling to a journalist. I feel shaky until I get to chew. Then the relief is instant. It's like being really, really thirsty, then finally being able to drink. But here's the part of Emma's story that gives me chills, because Emma eventually found out why she craved sponges. And the reason had nothing to do with nutrition or development or any of the usual explanations. Before we finish Emma's story, let's zoom out for a moment, because Emma isn't alone. Not by a long shot. In Florida, there's a 31-year-old woman named Adrienne. Adrienne has been eating sofa cushions since she was 10 years old. One day she saw her cousin eating sofa foam and thought, I'll try that. She did, and she liked it. I thought it was delicious. She later said, over the years, Adrienne has honed her habit. She can't stop, doesn't know how. In a single year, she ate the stuffing from 7 entire sofas, hundreds of kilograms of foam. Doctors have warned her repeatedly that she could die from intestinal blockages. She's tried hypnotherapy. Nothing works. Then there's the 21-year-old dental nurse from Britain. A dental nurse. Someone who spends her days teaching patients about oral hygiene and the importance of not putting harmful things in your mouth. She's eaten over 4,000 sponges in 4 years. She dips them in tea or coffee first, like biscuits, she says. She's also consumed more than 100 bars of soap. When interviewed, she cried with embarrassment. But the shame doesn't stop the craving. In North Lanarkshire, Scotland, a 6-year-old boy named Stephen has severe autism and Pica. He eats his bedroom walls. He eats mud. He eats sand. His mother, Lee, told reporters, "It's horrendous. There is no safe space to put him. He destroys everything. I'll walk in, and he's got wires hanging out the wall." The family is begging their local council for a specialized home they can make safe. But suitable housing is scarce. So Stephen keeps eating his house, and his mother keeps watching, helpless. And then there's the case that puzzles doctors the most. A 28-year-old man was hospitalized with fatigue and breathing difficulties. He'd been eating several bars of soap every week for months. Doctors ran tests and found severe iron deficiency, but they couldn't figure out which came first. Did the soap eating cause the deficiency, or did the deficiency cause the soap craving? They treated him with iron supplements and Prozac, and slowly the cravings faded. He recovered fully, but the question remains unanswered. These cases raise an obvious question. Why? Why would a human being with all our intelligence, all our self-preservation instincts, crave something that clearly isn't food? The answer, like most things in medicine, is complicated. There isn't one single explanation. There are several. The oldest theory, and still one of the strongest, is nutritional deficiency. Your body needs certain minerals to function: iron, zinc, calcium. When levels drop too low, your body sends signals: eat, find nutrients, consume. But those signals are ancient. They evolved millions of years ago in environments where find nutrients meant eat dirt that contains trace minerals or chew on bones for calcium. In the modern world, those same signals can misfire. Your iron-deficient brain says eat something, and somehow that message gets translated as eat that sponge. Then there's psychology, stress, anxiety, trauma, grief. Remember Emma and her sponges? That craving started with physical pain, a toothache. But when she finally got help, when she met with therapists, Nick and Eva Speakman on the show this morning, they uncovered something deeper. Emma's sponge addiction began 10 years ago. But 10 years ago, something else happened too. Her grandmother died, someone she loved deeply, someone whose loss she'd never fully processed. The toothache was real. The relief from chewing was real. But the craving that lasted a decade, that was grief. Unacknowledged, unprocessed grief, looking for an outlet, any outlet. When Emma finally confronted her grandmother's death, when she allowed herself to mourn properly, something remarkable happened. The craving stopped, not gradually, immediately. She now calls sponges her enemy. She hasn't touched one since that therapy session. For others, the explanation is development. People with autism or intellectual disabilities often have sensory processing differences. Chewing provides input that regulates their nervous systems. The problem is when that chewing gets directed at things that can hurt them, like Stephen eating his walls. And for some, there is no clear explanation. Pica remains mysterious, unpredictable, and stubbornly resistant to treatment. But here's the good news. Pica is treatable. For those with nutritional deficiencies, the solution can be as simple as supplements. Iron tablets alone have cured some cases. The body gets what it was missing, and the misfired cravings switch off. For others, behavioral therapy works. Aversive techniques, differential reinforcement, teaching alternative behaviors that satisfy the same urge without the danger. For people like Emma, the key is psychological, trauma therapy, grief counseling, addressing the root cause rather than the symptom. And for families like Junior's, the strategy is management, creating safe environments, providing acceptable alternatives, watching constantly, because the alternative is unthinkable. There's something important to note here. Something the National Pica Advisory Service emphasizes: I would not punish a child who has pica or give them time out. Instead, parents should visit with their child's pediatrician and get them help for the condition. I would recommend a professional evaluation and empathy. Empathy. That's the word that matters. It's easy to hear these stories and feel revulsion, to think, how could anyone eat that? How could anyone not just stop? These stories are strange. They're shocking. They're easy to gawk at from a distance, but they're also human. They're stories of people struggling with something they didn't choose, can't control, and often can't explain. They're stories of families watching helplessly, of shame and secrecy, and midnight trips to the garage for one more sponge. Emma Snowden doesn't eat sponges anymore. She processed her grief, and the craving vanished, but she still remembers what it felt like. The shakiness, the desperation, the instant relief. She told a reporter, it's like being really, really thirsty, then finally being able to drink. Thirst. That's the metaphor that stays with me. Because thirst isn't a choice. Thirst is a signal from your body that something essential is missing. And when you're thirsty enough, you'll drink almost anything.
It's like being really, really thirsty, then finally being able to drink.
If you found these stories as fascinating as I did, you might want to know what's coming next week. We're diving into another strange corner of human experience. The 10 strangest coincidences in history. Twins separated at birth, living identical lives. Ships that sink exactly as predicted in fiction. Events that seem too strange to be real, but absolutely are. Thanks for listening. If you know someone who'd find these stories interesting, share this video. And if you have your own strange story, something you've experienced or witnessed, I'd love to hear it in the comments. I'm Joker, and this has been People